till men realize they're completely useless because all women can just become lesbian and have bone marrow babies.
Remember, men are replaceable. But you know what's not replaceable? Your gorgeous fat ass. Okay? Who's missing out? Not you.
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive. They're meant to be worker ants.
Alexa, remind me that I don't need a man and men are useless.
Damon Brown, the author of Playboy's greatest cover, once said, "If we invent a machine, the first thing we are going to do after making a profit is to use it to watch porn." The machine that this quote is mentioning, it is most likely a machine that you already have at your home. This machine is virtual reality. In many ways, this statement has already been proven prophetic. Studies show that every second, over 20,000 users online are actively watching adult content, with a whopping $3,075 being spent in that same fleeting moment. Around 90% of teens and 96% of young adults either endorse, accept, or remain completely neutral when discussing adult content. The 55% of adults don't even view it as wrong, and on the contrary, they try to promote it, with some young people even placing the act of not recycling as more reprehensible than watching porn. So it's hardly shocking when we encounter statistics that show how 1 out of 3 men ages 18 to 24 haven't really been romantically involved with anyone for an entire year actually come out. Or that platforms like OnlyFans have started adding over 500,000 new users to their site every single day, with the majority of them being men. Even you might fit into these statistics, but don't worry, it's probably not your fault. Society has trained you to be this way, but I think now it's time to finally unlearn that. Now, before we get to the solution, it's important to understand the factors that are diminishing our sense of masculinity. There's a lot of reasons, but one thing that most people can't agree on is the declining levels of testosterone. This hormone governs libido, muscle development, and the core characteristics that we associate with being masculine. However, its level has been seeing a concerning dip since the 1980s. A study from 2007 published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism highlighted a decline of 1% annually since 1980. Now, there's a lot of theories about this decline. Some suggest mobile phone signals, the use of plastics, or even dietary soy as culprits. Others are concerned about traces of birth control products in our water supply as well. However, it's hard to find concrete evidence for these claims. A more plausible theory seems to connect declining testosterone levels to obesity and a decrease in physical activity among men over the years. This is because the fat tissues, especially those in the abdominal area, possess an enzyme called aromatase. This enzyme, believe it or not, converts testosterone to estrogen, the primary female sex hormone. Higher levels of body fat means more aromatase activity, leading to a decrease in that person's testosterone. Another proven way that men are getting weaker is the insane amount of adult content. This is because portrayal of intimacy and explicit content is unrealistically exaggerated, and a consistent exposure can skew a young man's understanding of genuine emotional and physical relationships. Our brains love rewards. In the past, we felt good when we achieved something tough, whether it was finishing a difficult project or winning a game. But now the quick pleasure from watching these videos can make these real achievements seem less appealing. This causes men to lose interest in school, sports, or other hobbies. It's not just about losing interest though. Comparing themselves to unrealistic scenes that they see online can make young men feel like they're not good enough. This can really hurt their self-confidence especially during the already tough teenage years. There's also the problem with young boys not growing up with strong male role models. In 2019, it was reported that around 15 million kids in the US alone were growing up with just their moms. That's a more sizable chunk than those with single dads. And as divorce rates tick up and courts often lean more towards women, this trend doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. Think about it. A whole generation of boys without father figures at home? School plays a big part in this too. Most teachers are women. So what does that mean? For many boys, the day-to-day role models from home to the classroom are predominantly female. This by no means is a knock on them, but it's worth considering how this shapes perspectives, attitudes, and personal identities on these kids. The media has also played a role in the culture war on masculinity. Old Hollywood showcased rugged icons like Clint Eastwood and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jump to now, and the spotlight shifted. It's highlighting more laid-back men, and TV isn't far behind. Young boys don't really have anyone to look up to. Instead, they have this. Sure, boys should know it's okay to be vulnerable, sensitive, or goofy, but they should also have access to role models that show resilience, strength, and determination. And when they don't, you get men who sit in front of screens all day, eating junk food and playing video games. Now, I admit that while playing games can be entertaining, even educational in moderation, the normalization of spending hours, sometimes days, in front of screens is troubling. The argument that they improve hand-eye coordination or strategic thinking is a mere smokescreen for a more significant issue. And this growing trend is more than just about wasted time. It's a commentary on the state of modern masculinity. Games provide a controlled environment where objectives are clear and rewards are instantaneous, but life doesn't work that way. Real challenges demand persistence, real failure, and true victories with hard work. By overindulging in video games, young men miss out on developing essential life skills like patience, resilience, and the ability to navigate the challenges of human interaction. You might have heard of the saying that hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And it couldn't be any more accurate. Consider our grandparents' generation. They faced actual wars, backbreaking labor, and none of the conveniences we have now. Our struggles are a bit different. We're trying to beat a game level or figuring out what food to order next. Much of this is due to a basic, fundamental biological fact. When it comes to human development, healthy masculinity doesn't just happen on its own. It has to be learned. You see, a woman's biological transformation sends a clear message about who she's becoming. As she matures, both inside and out, there's a powerful innate force steering her toward womanhood. Her family and community naturally respond to these changes, reinforcing her identity. But for boys, the journey to manhood isn't as automatic. It's not something that's just ingrained. It needs to be nurtured and taught. This transformation from boy to man isn't just a rite of passage. It's a purposeful transition. The reason for this are rooted deep in our nature. Men can often lean towards extremes, whether it's being too passive or overly aggressive. Healthy masculinity therefore needs to be shaped and guided. Margaret Mead, a renowned anthropologist, delved into this. She noted that in every known society, young men learn a universal truth. When they grow up, they're expected to provide and protect. This isn't just a social construct, but a deeply rooted expectation. However, Mead also warned that this learned behavior is delicate. If not continually reinforced, it could fade away. In contrast, a woman's natural inclination is to nurture. In fact, to deviate from this instinct, there often needs to be a really strong external pressure. Interestingly, even the renowned book Think and Grow Rich touches on controlling lustful desires. It's a matter of mastering your mind, ensuring that negative emotions don't push you into accepting weakness. Learning plays a crucial role here. The most vital lessons require intention, especially when it's about molding manhood. Older men, having walked the path, must pass on these lessons. While women can influence the process, the actual transfer of values and beliefs largely rests on men's shoulders. This passage of principles between generations of men is fundamental for society's progress. Essentially, guiding young men is at the core of community building, impacting everything from economy to education. We live in a time where society often won't push you. It might even tell you that you're okay just the way you are. But let me tell you something straight. We're often sold a version of life that's too comfortable. And comfort doesn't always lead to growth or happiness. Deep down, every man desires a challenge. Maybe you feel it too. That urge to prove yourself, to face down the impossible, the yearning for a real adventure, a genuine test, and even someone to stand by your side through it all. It's in our DNA. As John Eldridge said in Wild at Heart, every man longs for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. But modern comforts have made many of us lose touch with that essence. Now the world will often offer you shortcuts. Instant gratification is at your fingertips. But growth doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from challenges, from pushing your boundaries, from embracing discomfort. And that doesn't mean just physical discomfort. It means challenging your beliefs, your prejudice, and your insecurities. A great way for you to turn your life around is by embracing Stoicism. At its core, Stoicism is a blueprint for living a life of purpose, resilience, and contentment in a world fraught with unpredictability and chaos. And in an era where emotional turbulence is amplified by the endless stream of social media, the comparisons, and the fears of missing out, Stoicism offers a way to navigate through life with calmness and clarity. The key to Stoicism is mastering your emotions. Those moments when you feel like lashing out in anger or sinking into sadness, pause. Breathe for a second. Ask yourself if letting these emotions run wild will make things better. Most of the time, they won't. Instead, channel that energy into constructive actions or seek solutions. In life, there are things you can sway. Your actions, decisions, thoughts, and then there's the things that you can't. Other people's behaviors, unforeseen events. Stop battling the uncontrollable. Instead, focus what's on your hand and how you can influence that. End each day with reflection. Think about your actions, decisions, reactions. Where did you shine? Where could you have done better? And while it's essential to aim high and push for more, also remember to embrace gratitude. Every day, find moments, no matter how small, that you are thankful for. This practice keeps you grounded and reminds you of life's simple joys. If you are sitting there right now, feeling stuck, feeling like you're not where you want to be, then let's get one thing straight. Complaining won't change a thing. Excuses? They're just hurdles you place in your own path. If you genuinely want change, then it's time to take charge and start doing things differently. No one else is going to do it for you. Because the most worthwhile things in life, they're tough to get. I mean, if everything you desired, everything you wished for, was just handed to you on a plate, would you really value it as much? No, you wouldn't. Because deep down, we understand that things that come too easily often don't hold their worth. If you're here, looking for shortcuts or easy wins, this might not be the place for you. Here, we're about pushing limits, breaking boundaries, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Look around you. Many from our generation are just floating through life, living a life they think they're supposed to without ever challenging themselves, just existing. But what about you? You can be different. Introduce some discomfort in your life. Whether that means taking up a sport, learning a new skill, or even just getting off the couch just to go hit the gym. Yes, it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes a bit of struggle, a bit of misery, leads you to genuine happiness. Don't just be another face in the crowd. Turn the tide. Don't buy into this narrative that men should be weak or passive. Feed your body with the right stuff. Hone it, sharpen it, make it a vessel that carries your dreams and ambitions. Strive to realize your full potential, because the world doesn't need more passive bystanders. It needs you, stepping up, owning to your journey, and living it as a man you are meant to be.